Holy Smoking Pipe Padre coming back at you with a Hot August Nights video. Yes, sir. It is. I'm going to take these off for a little while. Well, maybe I'll leave them on. I don't know. Guess I'll leave them on. I don't think you care that much. And I don't care either. Oh, my goodness. So, just sitting here on a beautiful Thursday afternoon, early Thursday evening, August 1st, smoking a Dunhill cherry wood with some Blue Mountain in it. Beautiful, delicious, poetic Blue Mountain. So there you go. And also, I have at my elbow my 50/50. Yeah. Which is black coffee concentrate. Ooh, and heavy whipping cream. Maybe you can hear that. So anyway, Pipe Pals, I'm back, and I got to tell you right off the bat, I have not checked the last video I did for comments. There might have been a few, and if you made a comment and you're wondering, well, how come you didn't respond to my comment? I haven't responded to any comments yet. I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out the algorithms of YouTube, the mysteries of YouTube. I'll never figure it out. I mean, I have all the cool YouTube stuff. You know, I got the cool lights in the back, you know, and I got the SM7B microphones, and I didn't turn the other overhead light on because I just thought, well, I'm not sure if I really like that light. I mean, not all the time. You know, I'm trying to make kind of a, it's dusk outside, clearly. It's, a little bit after 7. So, yeah, I just want to kind of have a relaxing Thursday evening. You know, having an enjoyable pipe. The sad thing is that my former parish down in Chico, Cohasset mostly, I'm afraid has kind of gone the way of is it Greenville? Was it Greenville? Yeah, Greenville, out there on Highway 86, 82, or 32, or wait a minute. No, it was actually 89. Anyway, a few years ago in one of the sad forest fires that we've been having, again, I kind of blame Gavin Newsom and our state legislature because they have done precious little to do anything to mitigate these wildfires. They're just totally irresponsible politicians, and we let them get away with it because it's a one-party state. You know, what are you going to do? Vote me out? You know, well, maybe the citizens are just going to have enough and say enough's enough and vote these bums out, you know. But it's just absolutely reprehensible what these people are doing in their negligence. They're basically just saying, well, you just have to accept forest fires as part of life now. That's so irresponsible. But anyway, so let's see here. I guess some of you probably wondering if I'm going to talk about the Olympics. I probably will in my own way. I had something else I wanted to talk about tonight, and I think that might have been on the docket, but I can't remember for sure. I did talk about it kind of at length in my homily channel this week. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a little logo or a little the lower third to direct you to my homily channel if you're so inclined. So let me get another sip of this. This This tastes like, I finally figured out what it was, what it tastes like. It does taste like ice cream with dark chocolate, but it's bitter. So just imagine Hershey's, dark Hershey's chocolate, but it's unsweetened and bitter in your ice cream. Yeah, that's pretty much what you walk away with. It's like, oh, okay. You know, and if you like that kind of a combination, it's kind of a that really dark, bitter chocolate flavor, but then it's kind of tamed by the heavy cream. So it's delicious. Yeah, I was going to talk about some other things other than the Olympics on this channel. I sometimes talk about certain things in parallel. I'll kind of have a little bit, maybe a different take on it. And, but sometimes I just talk about whatever I talk about on this channel because I don't have to maybe be as scripted and focused because I'm, usually on my other channel, I'm trying to relate everything to the Sunday readings or something that it's applicable to the Sunday liturgy. And so that's kind of what guides my conversation, my reflections on that channel. But this one here is a little more freeform, is a little more casual. And so to that end, I just, whatever, I kind of write, sometimes I write things down, like I did the last video about the assassination attempt with President Trump. So, and again, what I normally do is I will do one video a month. I mean, there was when I have a lot more energy and I'm not quite as tired, and it's weird. Some weeks and some months I feel pretty good, and some I'm just kind of dragging. And probably I'm, maybe dragging a little bit because the last couple of months, really, I have just been really irresponsible and, just eating copious amounts of carbs. Those of you who have followed me over these years, that I struggle with that. And sometimes I do really good, and sometimes I don't do so good. And this is one of those times I just don't do so good. I just with all of the renovations that have been going on in our church, and it's constant. I hate to say the word interruption, but constant distractions because you're dealing with multiple issues and concerns and problems all at the same time. And there are people that need to talk to you about this problem or this idea or fixing this or how do we fix this or what do we do now? When do we start doing the next phase of the project? It just never stops. It's constant emails, constant texts, constant phone calls, constant, and plus, again, I have my church email account, and that's usually kind of sometimes, going off the rails as well, so it's never ending. And, the heat, we don't have air conditioning. So, again, I'm not going to complain, because, I have lived in extremely hot climates and some of them without air conditioning. Some of them I'd had air conditioning. I was grateful for it because we needed it. Here, you'd open your window and turn on a fan, and for the most part, it works pretty well, and it's not a problem. But then we have the wildfires, again, because of poor management of our forests. And so, when the smoke's in the air, that's not good. You don't want to be breathing that at night, so you have to close your windows, and it can be a bit of a challenge. Now, we've started the last part of summer officially today, and probably by another 5 weeks, I'm going to guess, things will radically cool down. And, that's what happens up here, Now, in the valley, even though the calendar will say September and October, you can still get days that are, maybe up in the 90s and even 100, and then eventually when winter comes, then it just kind of like, boom, that's the end. But here, there is that 4 seasons up here, which is nice. And so, the mornings will get a lot cooler. The evenings will get cooler, and You might still have some warm days, but they won't be, in the triple digits and not up here. But still, in the mid to upper 80s, it gets a little uncomfortable without air conditioning. So, anyway, I grumble, So let me get back to the old Piper-Rooney here. Oh, that's good. I like it. I like it. Mm-hmm. Ooh. That's the only thing I don't like about the pipe, and then the spewing of ashes and embers. But I digress again. So let me take a little hit of this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so about the Olympics. I have to say that, yes, it was a tasteless, shameless, unnecessary attack, I think, an attempt, or maybe an attempt at mockery, ridiculing Christianity. Again, they have the temerity. Hopefully I can adjust these just a little bit. That's interesting. What happened there? Was that? Anyway, tablecloth's kind of getting faded. But they attacked, they lampooned, the Christian faith, Well, in some ways, I can look at it in a couple ways. Now, yeah, I didn't watch. I'm not a big Olympics person, although I want to say that in decades past, the church that I'm at right now, kind of came into its own during the 1960 Olympics. Half the church was built for the 1960 Olympics. We even had a mission church in Squaw Valley, back when you could say Squaw Valley and it wasn't politically incorrect. Now it's Olympic Valley. Olympic Palisades. I guess that's the official title now. But you can't say Squaw Valley anymore. I don't know very many Squaws or Indians that were upset about that name, but apparently it was racist, Anyway. Politically correct culture run amok. What are you going to do? But anyway, so again, even though I would probably as a kid maybe turn it on in the background as something to just kind of listen to, I used to build a lot of model kits, and I would kind of be off in my own little world, and then I'd listen either to the news or the weather or the local news or, whatever was on TV, and it was a kind of a background thing, which was fine, and sometimes the Olympics would be on. And every now and then, it'd catch your attention, maybe there was a spectacular, sad to say, maybe somebody had a horrible accident, when they're coming down the ski slalom, and they messed up and they went ass over tea kettles, and maybe they got hurt or, God forbid they died or something like that, so like, whoa, what was that, and, those kind of spectacular, sensational things. And sometimes, you'd apparently I guess our hockey team right down the road here won the hockey thing during the 1960 Olympics right here in beautiful, Lake Tahoe area here, just 6 miles down the road. History was made when they beat the Russians. Yeah. So, but anyway, but for me, mostly the Olympics, if you asked me what I thought of the Olympics, I would, what was my general impressions, I would say, well, it's a celebration of athletes achieving excellence. I guess that would be the best way I could say it. That's all it's about. It's like, you've spent literally decades of your young life preparing for this one singular, unique moment in time, in your time, in time of the history of the world, your athletic abilities and talents, and how those have been honed to even a sharper skill. Somebody was telling me they're into athletics, and they were a coach for decades, and they just said, well, most coaches will tell you that talent's like table salt. There's somebody that's got talent comes along every 5-10 minutes. It's what you do with that individual and that talent, and how you harness it, and how you focus it, and how you polish it, and how you refine it to a true something that's really spectacular. So I was always the Olympics was just that pursuit of excellence, right? The greatest thing that you can, great achievement, just personal, and the personal sacrifice that goes into that, You don't go to the parties. You don't, you go to bed early, you get up early, and you do this for years and decades, to become a true Olympian. And so just to walk into that stage you've achieved. You are now an Olympian. Now, whether or not you actually excel and you now get a bronze or silver or gold medal, that's up to fate, and whatever it is that you're going to be able to pull out of all of that training that you've done all those years. So, and that's the way I always saw it. So to have this weird opening thing with these transvestites mocking the Last Supper, what has that got to do with the Olympics? What in the hell are these people thinking? And then after the outrage, then they doubled down, basically. They supposedly gave an apology. And do they think that we're stupid? I guess they must think we're stupid. Then they come back and say, well, it really wasn't about Da Vinci's Last Supper, and we weren't mocking Christianity. And then if you look at the picture, I think I got one here, what do you see? You see, of course, it's set up, it's choreographed, like very, very similar to the Last Supper. There's too many elements there that are indicative or parallel, I should say, the iconography or the choreography of that composition of the Last Supper. It's unmistakable. But then if it wasn't totally are you seeing what we're trying to tell you here? This is our mockery of the Last Supper. Well, what do? They have a dinner plate dome on top of it, dinner, Last Supper, come on. So again, now some people might say, "Oh, why are you so outraged?" And to be honest with you, when I see kind of stuff like that, I kind of raised my eyebrows and I said, "Well, what do you expect?" And I'm sorry, and again, I can get on my soapbox because I do it all the time. I'm on my channel here, but the whole transgender thing is it's funny. I will just say this: it's a mockery of humanity. If you think about it, it's a mockery of humanity. I think the transgender people today are today's new clowns. I'm not trying to say that to minimize their grossness, because I think that what their politics and their ideology is abhorrent. But basically, they have become the perverted version of clowns, because that's all they really are. You're pretending to be something that you're not. Okay, and it's sort of like that kid in the classroom that's always acting up. Speaking as a former teacher here, after a while, there's nothing that they can say or do short of maybe killing somebody in the classroom. God forbid. And that's happened, obviously. But basically, they're just looking for attention. And the worst thing you can do is basically give in to them, their attention getting antics. You kind of want to just say, well, hey, enough's enough. And I'm going to send you to the principal's office. You know, there's other things that you can kind of do. It kind of make their lives a little unpleasant. And again, I'm not talking about physically hurting a kid. I'm just saying that you can tell them to write an essay, you know, 4-page essay, 5-page essay, 2,000-word essay on why it's not a good idea to act up in class, you know, or, you know, come up with the virtues of why it's good to respect your teacher and your adults. Write your spelling words, you know, 500 times, you know, each. And there's 50 of them. There you go. You know, or maybe I wouldn't even do it now, but I did it once, you know, had the kid clean up blackboards, and that's when we actually had whiteboards. I think we had one set of blackboards, one set of whiteboards, clean desks. That's what I did. I was a kid that acted up. I mean, it probably doesn't come as a big surprise to some of you, but I was that kid. I was that kid that was always, you know, being the clown and saying the smart ass things and, you know, trying to get the attention. And, you know, the best teachers were the ones who were able to kind of call my bluff on it, and then in a good and even, I would say, a loving way, rechannel that misguided energy. And I had a couple of teachers that were really good at that. And, you know, that's why not everybody is cut out to be a teacher and a good one. Okay. I'm not saying I was a good one for sure, but again, I know what it's like to experience somebody who's acting up. And I mean, think about it. That's all these, you know, mafia type people really are doing, is just acting up. And shame on them. That's all I'll say. Just shame on them. They're screaming out. You know, they're filled with rage and anger. And they think by, you know, attacking and mocking and ridiculing their quote unquote enemies, that somehow that's going to satisfy them. It's, we showed them, didn't we? You know, yeah, I guess. Like I said, a lot of people certainly were upset by this mockery, to be sure. Now, I will say this, that, you know, the word is subversive. I got to remember that's one word I can't call to mind when I'm trying to do this monologue. But Leonardo da Vinci was not really a proponent, an advocate of faith and Christianity in the church. He was kind of subversive in a lot of the art that he did. You know, there were those barbed messages. He was a critic of the church. You know, he wasn't a big fan of the church, I'm sure. So, and again, I know that for some people, they'll say, well, the Last Supper by Da Vinci is a very, very, I don't know if I'd call it a holy picture. I mean, I think that the meaning behind it, if you understand the meaning behind it, I gotta turn this off just for a minute. Okay. If you understand the meaning behind it, it leads to the belief, the sacramental belief of Christ's real presence in the Eucharist. But some people would kind of point out, I mean, at the Last Supper, Jesus, of course, takes bread and wine and, you know, this is my body, this is my blood, you know, given for you, shed for you. I mean, that's the biblical narrative that, you know, undergirds that painting, or maybe inspires that painting to some extent. But in some ways, if you look at the actual painting and you study it, there's some subversive elements in that painting that really don't lend itself to, you know, I would say a true, honest, faithful interpretation of, say, John 6, or, you know, maybe the Catholic or the Orthodox belief in the real presence of Christ in the Holy Eucharist. Okay, but by and large, people still see it as a inspiring painting of Jesus in the Last Supper with the disciples. Okay, and yeah, okay, and it's you know, kind of like the Mona Lisa. It's withstood the test of time. But you know, again, it's not. I got to be honest. There are other images that I think are more powerful, and they have been mocked. They've been desecrated. Okay, for example, in this one here, as I'm making the video, I'm even wondering if I even will put the image on the screen, because it's just so upsetting. It's total blasphemy. There was an artist who put a crucifix in a vat of urine. Why? That outrages me. I'm just, oh. Or the guy who put a picture of the Blessed Madonna in a strewn with elephant dung or something, you know, all these. Why? What are you trying to say? Obviously that religion is crap and pee, you know, or piss on it. And there are some people, and I think that guy actually not too long ago was received by the Pope, and the Pope gave him like a big Jesus, you know, a buddy Jesus, like, yeah, man, that was cool. You know, surfer dude Jesus, yeah, that was cool. You know, and I'm thinking, wow, doesn't he know what abomination this guy, quote unquote, created? You know, that one's far more upsetting, as you can tell, when I'm just talking about it. Or again, the Blessed Madonna with elephant dung or whatever it was. It was just disgusting. Look at the defacing of Michelangelo's, you know, the Pietà. Again, something that's really upsetting. So to see a bunch of clownish transvestites doing disgusting things, which is what they want to, you know, they're just acting up. I'm not saying to say it's okay, you know, just ignore them. But at the end, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, what can you do, really? And sometimes the best thing that you can do is ignore people like that. You know, would I have watched the Olympics? If it was the Olympics like 30, 40 years ago, I'd probably be watching a little bit of it from time to time, you know, seeing what's going on, you know, and, you know, things like that. But I have no interest. I mean, I'm not going to turn in on the Olympics. I have no desire, have no, you know, inclination to, you know, view or watch the events or anything. Because I'm thinking now that the whole thing it's not what it used to be. It's, you know, a lot of the things that we, you know, it's almost like it's a transgender Olympics. You know, now, I don't mean that just in a political sense, but I mean that you're changing something into something that it's not. That's, to me, what real transgenderism is. It's changing something into something that it's not. You know, the Olympics is not about, you know, community and everybody coming together, except the people you don't like. You know, they hosted a party, and they had this rave trans thing, and, you know, oh, isn't it wonderful and inclusive? Except people like me and billions of other people who happen to believe in the mystery and the majesty and the beauty and the salvific power to save of Jesus Christ, you know, and the message that he has commissioned his disciples to go and to take to the world. But anyway, so yeah, they've taken that and turned it inside out and turned it into something. It's I'm kind of debating if I want to say this next thing, but I think it's accurate. So many of these young people who have been deceived by the transgender ideology, and they've went out and got the surgeries, and only to their lifelong regret. Man, it's like they were told, promised, sold this idea, and at the end of the rainbow, there is no rainbow. There's just, you know, sickness, illness, and shortness of life now. Man. And that's wrong, you know. If the drag queens and the transgender types and all these people were just trying to be like a bunch of court jesters and, you know, but at the end of the day, they were regular people, I'd still say they're being subversive and they're just being nasty. No, there's no point in that. But these people actually believe that their philosophy of life is genuine and real, and yet biology, science, and reality scream, no, it's not. And that yet they just, like, I'm not going to hear that. You can't tell me. I'm not going to listen to you. You're a bigot. All that stuff. And it reminds me, and I can speak of this from personal experience, when I was, actively drinking, the last thing I wanted to hear about was sobriety. I wanted my drink. I didn't want anybody to get between me and my, my drink of choice, and, the people that loved me, they God bless the people that love me. And man, I tell you what, if they hadn't lovingly challenged me, I probably wouldn't be here right now. They wouldn't let me hide my cups. They wouldn't let me hide in the bottle. And God bless them for that. Now, did they, do the, like a lot of times, you throw out if your parents are drinking or your spouse is drinking, you try to throw it all out or hide it or whatever, but that never works. We as alcoholics and drug addicts, we're just too sneaky for that. We'll find out. We'll find new ways of getting what we need. Thank you very much. I knew this one guy. I have to say, the one that I thought was one of the most ingenious ways of an alcoholic being able to keep their drink right by them, was this guy. And what he did was, I guess he went to Walmart, and before the wife could find the booze, I guess it was mostly vodka, he got a garden hose, a brand new garden hose, and it was like a thaw garden hose. He kept it outside, and it was all filled up with vodka. And then he would pretend to go out and be watering the lawn when he was actually, drinking from the hose that had the vodka in it. I thought that was pretty ingenious. I have to say, wow, now that's another level. I never did that. I certainly hid my booze so people couldn't find it. So, and I found out that I'm not the only one that's done some of these things, taking, don't leave the Gilbey's gin in the Gilbey's bottle. Put it like in a water bottle that you put in your refrigerator, and people, they'll see that right in the open, but they won't see it. They won't see it as booze. And I had somebody just recently do this to me because I kept saying, well, they needed help. And so I would go visit them and take them food and try to encourage them to stop drinking. And one time I was with another person. We were kind of there, and I said, I'm amazed. I know this person's been drinking, but I don't see any empty dead soldiers. I don't see any booze bottles. And they said, well, you just have to look at, and I was kind of like, well, I never thought of that one. But they had put, the alcohol, they transferred it into different containers. And so you're looking for a Gilbey's gin or, a Grey Goose bottle or whatever it is you're looking for, and you're not finding the booze bottles because the booze bottles have been thrown out. But the contents of those booze bottles have been put surreptitiously in all these different things that you're not thinking, like maybe a milk carton or something, hey, that's smart, And again, alcoholics are very creative people. I got to say that. But again, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, when I was drinking, I didn't want anybody to tell me anything about, hey, you have a problem or you need help or you need to stop, nothing like that. I wasn't going to hear it. And I honestly believe that people that are in the alphabet community are basically people who have been arrested in a psychosexual state of development, and they just need to grow out of that. And they never did. They got arrested at that state, and that's why they're trapped. And until they decide that they need help and they need to need to grow beyond that, they're always going to be they're going to be lost in that. They're going to be trapped in that form of sexual addiction. So my heart goes out to them, but at the same time, when they're acting up, and getting in my face and telling me, that the things that I believe that are sacred is somehow It's like they're lampooning that, and you expect me to just kind of like, turn a blind eye to it. I might turn a cheek to be sure, but I may not turn a blind eye. But again, at the same time, it's the damage has been done, and now I will say this. Let me get that pipe going one more time. Now, is this still recording? Yeah, I guess it is. Part of the blame, believe it or not, this might shock some of you, part of the blame for all this can be leveled, and rightly so, at the church. Catholic Church, the whatever church you want. I mean, yeah. And what I'm talking about here is the fact that in our own churches, especially in the Catholic churches over the last 60 years, the church has unfortunately gone down a path of deconstructing what the church believes in. I mean, we compromised with the alphabet people, letting the rainbow flags in and celebrating the Pride Month with them. I mean, not some churches, not all churches, but far too many nowadays. We want to be inclusive. We want to be accepting, Well, you don't accept perversion. You can accept the individual, and most of the time, you say, well, Jesus accepted everybody. Yes, he did. He accepted the sinners, but not to endorse their lifestyle. He wanted them to see genuine love so that they would see something better than what they were giving their lives and their appetites and their passions to know there's something greater. Again, it's like the Olympics. It's not about community organizing. It's about the pursuit of personal excellence. And in many ways, so what happened was that the church, after Vatican II, basically started to kind of mock itself with clown masses, puppet masses. I saw this one thing where they had like balloon, soap bubble balloon masses. And I mean, here in the sanctuary, I mean, if it was like at a retreat outside, and kids are like around a campfire, okay, that's different. But not in a formal liturgical liturgy and in a worship space. I mean, people are like, what is going on here? People blessing people with guitars. What has that got to do with anything? We had this guy a couple of years ago. I got in trouble for mentioning it, but it's, again, you're not supposed to say the emperor doesn't have any clothes. But this guy literally didn't have any clothes, actually. He was a priest, supposedly, saying Mass in the Aegean Sea. And we had about a month or two after that happened, that was summer, we had a conference on how to say the Mass properly. And this guy was saying, he got on his soapbox, you guys don't say Mass the right way, and I'm going to prove it, and all it was he was just being ridiculous. He was being pedantic. He was like, every little thing that is not in the book, you're not supposed to say that, I mean, to include articles, it's like, well, you got to be kidding me. You're being ridiculous. And, you can abuse the liturgy. You can dumb it down. You can even abuse it. You can mock it in some ways, but you can't, but boy, and I brought up this example. I said, well, you're talking about all these examples of people that are saying Mass wrong. Did you see this guy, this priest who was saying Mass in the Aegean Sea and basically his swim trunks? And he goes, well, that's not valid. That's just an exception. Don't be making hay out of something like that, And I said, well, all right. You asked me for an example of an abuse, and I think that would be an abuse, And I got, scolded because I was being intolerant, I was being closed-minded, I was being narrow, I was being judgmental, But we've seen this happening all the time. And we've seen a lot of other abuses, and I mean, there are lots of abuses that have gone on, and they've been tolerated, or if they have been questioned, you get shot down, the priest or the sister. There's a lot of times we have these sisters, and they kind of almost, they're like Nazis, and, I won't go into some of the horror stories that I've had with those creatures, but basically, they really, are very intolerant of tradition. It's like, and here's the other thing. It's like, why is the powers that be, why are they attacking the Latin Mass of all things? And I know what they're trying, they will say, well, it's the Latin Mass is a sin against unity. It's divisive. I go, wait a minute. So at each and every Mass, no matter what language you use, whether it's Spanish, English, Latin, Swahili, Swedish, whatever, the central event is the Holy Eucharist, Christ being made present in that liturgy. And so now you're saying that the greatest source of unity is that mystery, Christ in the Eucharist. And yet, for some reason, Christ in the Eucharist, if it's said in Latin, is now a disunifying event? How is that? And it's just the powers that be are, they're angry. Again, it's a lot like the people that are, I think, in the mafia, the alphabet mafia. They're very angry and depressed people, and they strike out because they're trying to force something that's not real. They're trying to say, well, this is how I am. This is how I feel. I was born this way, blah, 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 blah. And really, again, science, reality, and biology, it's all against them. Deep down inside, they know that. I think they know that deep down inside. And they're fighting against that. And so if you appear to be somebody who seems to be, do I dare say, a normal person, I mean, I'm 98.6 or whatever is normal, but they want to attack you. They want to, what's this here? So again, it's like you're just minding your own business. You're just trying to live your life, and somebody that's of this other persuasion, and they see you as a threat. And sometimes when they see you as a threat, they got to take you out. And unfortunately, we see this happening more and more and more. So as far as the Olympic thing goes, I'm not really, like I said, it's sort of like, okay, you're acting up. I duly noted. Okay. Hope you get it out of your system. But I'm not like crushed. Again, like the other things I did mention, those were really, those were just blasphemous. Yes, this was ridiculing Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, and by extension, yes, maybe the belief in the Holy Eucharist, and that's not good. Obviously, that's a blasphemous thing too. But I would tend to kind of take a step back and say, well, it's one thing to criticize and mock Leonardo da Vinci. It's a whole other thing to really, like I said, put a cross in urine or put manure on a Holy Madonna, Holy Theotokos statue or picture. Those things are, to me, those are abominations and blasphemous. Those things should not be allowed. Those people should be, I think, talking about hate crimes. Hello there. All you alphabet mafia people, talk about hate crimes all the time. What about those things? Those are hate crimes. Even this lampooning of Da Vinci's Last Supper could be probably considered on the borderline of hate crime, because you're mocking, you're not just making fun of Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. You're really trying, by extension, to attack the belief in the Holy Eucharist, I think, so yeah. But again, I hate to say this, some of you might be upset when I say this, but I kind of lay some of the blame at the doorstep of our churches and our hierarchy and our priests and our religious who have downplayed traditional Catholicism, traditional Christianity, have dismantled it or deconstructed it. Well, you can't really believe that Bible. Or Jesus, did he really rise from the dead? How do we know? Maybe it was all a hoax. It's like, and people like, well, gee, I never thought of it that way. Come on. You're so open-minded, your brain is falling out, So anyway. So I not sure I'm, going to be laying up nights awake, fretting about this thing. Again, like I said, I didn't even watch it. So it's like, hey, I'm aware of what happened. And apparently the little chubbo gal is going to now sue everybody that's criticized her, Good luck with that one, But how ridiculous. Oh, you hurt my feelings because you didn't like my art. You didn't like my performance. Well, you going to go after, movie critics and theater critics next, Guess you can. I'm going to sue you. Why don't you try and, here's an idea. Why don't you try and be objective about things? That's one of the things about, being a person in the public. You got to be objective. Some people are going to like what you say and some people aren't going to like what you're going to say. Okay. And if you can, say why you're opposed or you didn't like something, and you can do it, I think, in a respectful, reasonable way, I think you'll gain a lot more. You'll probably be able to maybe, I wouldn't say maybe bridge the gap or whatever, but at least you'll be able to engage in maybe some objective conversation with somebody. But if all you do is yell and scream and then you close your ears because I don't want to hear what you're going to say, because I can't take that, Can't take criticism. Well, okay. And I think that's a lot of the problem, is that these folks just can't handle criticism. And they are just going to push this unrealistic ideology onto the world as much as they can. I don't know how successful they're going to be. Some people say, well, they're already succeeding, and look at the culture is, declining and all that. Well, I don't know. These things have a shelf life. We all have a shelf life. It'll be replaced with some other sensationalistic thing, Maybe that sensationalistic thing will be something really, truly dreadful, It's like, something, maybe we could be hit by an asteroid, God forbid, and there's nothing we can do about that, I think that would kind of sober everybody up for a season, don't you? I don't know, and I don't wish that on anybody. I'm just a guy who likes to make YouTube videos and fix churches up and talk to people and have fun and enjoy life, for the most part. Really, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to lead a crusade, to, put people in concentration camps because they don't think the way I do. But it does seem like the other side is moving in that direction, and that's what alarms a lot of us. It would be nice to have people kind of return to more of a, hey, you live your life, I live my life. And maybe some of us can still be friends in regards to, with that. But when you're like, okay, if you don't see things my way, you're the enemy, and we're coming for you. That's wrong. That's wrong. And I don't try to operate that way. Again, some of you I know disagree with me, and I disagree with you, but I think we can still find common ground in some things and have respectful conversations and share our thoughts and opinions. And again, at the end of the day, we might just have to respectfully agree to disagree. Okay, well, I think I have come to an end of this video. I've been so busy with this remodel, the restoration of the floor in the church. It turned out to be a bigger project than I really thought it was going to be. But I knew it was going to be a big project. I knew that going into it. So I don't blame anybody but myself, because I knew that there was just too many big moving parts to this, and I knew that it wasn't going to be easy. But I knew that if we did it right, we would be able to do it. In fact, it's the funny thing. We weren't actually going to start this project until yesterday. We were going to do it the last day of July. We were going to start the last day of July. And thanks be to God, we figured out that I looked at it one time and I said, guys, we're wasting almost 3 months doing nothing. I said, that's so wasteful. I said, we need to maximize that time. And again, not to say that I'm some great, engineering genius, because I'm not, but I just, it was like, okay, are you going to sit around for 3 months and do nothing, or are you going to put that time to good use? And there were some things we had to figure out, pretty simple things when you look at it and say, yeah, okay, we can do it this way. We can skin the elephant, or, eat the elephant one bite at a time. And that's kind of basically what we did. And I'm so grateful that we started back in April, because had we waited until the end of July, boy, with winter knocking on the door now in another 2.5 months, because usually by the middle of October, winter is here. Granted, a lot of the work was indoors, but a lot of it was, it was all stone and mortar work. And, when it gets to a certain temperature, I don't think that those things work very well. You need warmer temperatures to do the mortar and the salt, the mortar and the stone. They're more pliable, and I think that's what you need in a warmer climate. So I'm just so grateful that we did it when we did, and most of everything is done now. There's a lot of little fine-tuning things that we're going to do, and but after that, Bob's your uncle and Sally's your aunt. All right. Okay. So I'm going to wish you a very happy Lake Winnipesaukee summer, what's left of it, and light up your world and light up your pipe. We'll see you all in the next one. Take care.